Hello, audience. Thank you and welcome to the second episode of The Blood Runs Red. I'm your host, Donzi. On this podcast, we cover a wide variety of topics circulating about known or obscure political or social conspiracy theories or confirmed events. Let's jump into it. The first episode, you may recall how I talk about the things which inspired me to make this podcast, which is the lovely widespread influence of many deceptive media, news outlets, or companies. Now, hear me out. Not all of them are bad. But we live in a day and age where people don't take time to sit down and research, and maybe you just don't have that time, which is understandable. But I believe that it is something that is necessary for reasons such as this. I see many of my friends share articles and discussions with thousands of likes and views, and it may not be accurate. So if I'm unsure, I'll take 5 to 10 minutes to research the topic, come to a proper conclusion, and find that the original post, article, and discussion isn't entirely true. There will be missing facts. It doesn't take into consideration other variables that affected the situation. And it just completely changes the narrative of what even happened. But people spread it, and people believe it. Many of the stuff that is spread, it's short and sweet, barely covers the truth of the topic. It's very surface level stuff. But people take that and they run with it. And for the parts that they do run with, it's usually missing stuff. And they fill that stuff in with opinion. Now, this could be caused by people's unwillingness to dive deeper. And I feel like it's also caused because people naturally follow the masses. Because it's easier to follow a crowd going down a bad path that's painted right than follow one person going down a right path. I mean, that's just history. That has happened. People tend to go with the majority. It's nothing groundbreaking. That's why it's easy to be manipulated by social media, because it's easier to go with the crowd than to research for yourself. But that's more of a reason to do that research than accept what you see as fact. I mean, you learn that in history. You learn that in history, the importance of taking in multiple sources. You don't just read one thing covering one event. You read multiple things covering that event. Then you draw your conclusion. But people don't take the time to do that. Now let's move on from the easy trap of social media into news outlets. Now for them, they don't have an excuse really, because they have hundreds of journalists, if not thousands of journalists, that can cover one big topic, and they'll write up a story within 30 minutes over a big story that pops up. They'll jump on it real fast and they'll report it. I mean, that's great and all that we have outlets that can quickly report on a topic and get it out to the people. But what isn't great about that is the process in those 30 minutes, the process building up that report, which hopefully people don't get offended by what I'm about to say next, or the things which I'm about to say. And if you're already offended, then I'm sorry. Not really. But, for example, whenever George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks died, what was the headline? Black man killed by white cops. And like that, it captures a large audience and pulls in advertising because companies know people are attracted to it. It can cost a couple $100,000 to advertise on news outlets, and that's pretty good profit. especially whenever that specific news outlet is putting out information that's bringing in people. And even if it isn't bringing in people, news outlets still are moved by a personal agenda rather than delivering facts. So as long as you can say something with a slight twist, with a slight manipulation, you can get into the minds of people. It's suggestive talk. For example, if I go up to somebody and say, hey, you should do this for me. I suggest it to them. I present it to them. I'm not saying they need to, but if I say that once a week for a few months, they'll be more inclined. It's going to build up in their head. That's just basic manipulation. That's just how manipulation works. It's not, like I said, with following the masses. It's nothing groundbreaking. And that's what news outlets do. It's suggestive, and they only use just enough of the truth. If I say you should give me $10, and I want those $10 to go buy 5 copies of the Bee Movie, you're gonna be like, no. But if I say, do you mind if I have $10 and not say why? You'll probably be like, maybe I'll think about it. But you just have enough of the truth to get by. That's what news outlets do. It's the same logic of weight loss programs, or people who promote weight loss. We see people say, oh, lose weight in 1 week, and that pulls in millions of views. It makes good money. But you want to know what only pulls in a couple thousand views? A 20-step program that lasts a year to lose weight. Because people want something quick that they can look over and it sounds better. That's why 1-week programs make more money. Now, this news reporting method and this 1-week weight loss tactic would be okay if people were smarter and mature and reacted appropriately. The death of George Floyd, it sparked riots and protests and the Black Lives Matter movement to once again step up and, protest. And this sadly brought businesses to be destroyed and millions of dollars of property damage. Now, don't get me wrong, the Black Lives Matter movement is great for racial injustice. The key word racial. George Floyd was approached by 2 cops, Lane and Kung, while he was sitting in his car after a report was made. Okay. Now, they use some force. Okay? Some force. But nothing that's going to make you go, oh my goodness, these are terrible cops. These 2 rookies use some force to get him out. Nothing terrible. And as they're taking him over to the police cruiser to put him in the back, he's being resistant. He's saying, I'm claustrophobic, I don't want to go in there, I can't breathe. And they're trying to put him in, and he's being resistant. Now this is where 2 more officers come up. Chauvin and Tao. These 2 officers have a history of using excessive force. They have a list of complaints behind them. These guys have been on the force for a while. These are the ones that everyone sees in the video. The video of Chauvin with his knee in the neck of George Floyd and Tao just standing there just saying, nope, it's fine. This is this guy's fault. These 2 officers are the ones who escalated. Now, George, he actually makes it inside the vehicle, but Chauvin pulls him out and then proceeds to get onto his his neck with his knee, and the two officers follow suit. The two rookies follow suit. And Tao, he's just kind of just standing there, like nothing's going on. Now, none of these officers have racist history, but the two of them, Tao and Chauvin, the experienced officers, have violent history. The two other officers, they're just rookies. So, instead of saying George Floyd is a racial injustice, according to the facts which we know of, which we are presented with in truth, we can say that he was a victim of bad, forceful, and inexperienced cops. Imagine all the damage and injury from protesting and riots that could have been avoided if news articles took an extra day to get all the information and make a headline that says, "Man killed by bad cop," and didn't bring race into it. And only bring in the facts that they know. Now, that title doesn't sell. That title doesn't sell as well as Black Man Killed by White Cops. That title doesn't get as many people's attention. And if you're a day late to report on something, then hundreds of other news companies are already getting people to contact them for advertisements, and they're already making money, and you're a day late. So that makes sense that they go ahead and push out this easy, manipulative, headlining report for money and a personal agenda. Now, with the second killing, Rayshard Brooks, whenever he was being detained, all the events leading up to him being detained, very peaceful, very casual, very normal. I'm watching one of the most relaxing episodes of Cops. It was a very normal event until Rayshard starts to violently react. Rayshard Brooks starts to fight with officers, wrestles them down to the ground. One officer, who has a free hand, tries to pull out his taser to tase Rayshard. Rayshard then grabs the taser, gets it from the officer's hand, stands up, runs off. The officer with the taser runs after him, tries to tase him. Rayshard then appears to pull up the taser to shoot it back, and the officer who got his taser stolen is now shooting at Rayshard. He shoots 3 times. He hits Rayshard. Now they both run over to Rayshard to help him, to aid him. They call for an ambulance, and they try to save his life, but they're unsuccessful. I don't know about y'all, but to me, that doesn't sound racist. That sounds like cops just doing their job and reacting to lethal force with lethal force. That's it. The headline for that should have said, "Man violently resisted officers shot and killed." It shouldn't have said, "Black man killed by white cops." Once again, it wasn't a race thing. If news outlets and social media influencers didn't make stuff like this into race, didn't make these 2 killings a race thing, then all the protesting and rioting could have and would have been way smaller and more focused on keeping bad cops out of the system. If the focus was moved onto that and not racial inequality, which wasn't the focus of these 2 specifically, if news outlets and social media influencers didn't make George Floyd's death about race, then all the protesting and rioting could have been way smaller and focused on bad cops and getting bad cops out of the system. If that was the focus, I feel like there could be more change. But how do you expect there to be change if we're not even attacking the reason of the death of George Floyd? Now, another instance of misleading articles, misleading headliners, misleading discussions in post is the discussion over the peaceful violin vigil for Elijah McClain, a young African American who got killed by officers. I don't know the race of the officers. I don't know if this is injustice. I don't know what happened. All I know is that he came across as a good kid. He was an introvert. Everyone's talking about that. They say that he was a sweet kid. He was a violinist, self-taught, good kid, got killed. And there was a peaceful violin vigil in his honor. No problem there. Perfectly fine. But according to a bunch of headlines, according to a bunch of articles and discussions I'm seeing, here's what happened. Police officers in riot gear go there, start hitting people with batons, pepper spraying people, and using tear gas. That's only partially true. But that's what people are running on. First off, tear gas wasn't used. A few officers used pepper spray. Some of the protesters were throwing rocks at the officers. Some of the protesters were using fence barriers to block off the headquarters, the police department headquarters, causing the officers in riot gear to react in using pepper spray and using their batons. They didn't do this for no reason. They didn't just come out like, okay, I'm gonna go play whack-a-mole with innocent civilians. They reacted against non-peaceful protesters who were causing a problem. But that's what most articles are missing. Now, they will cover it, but they bring attention to everything else as if the protesters, or at least some of the protesters, did nothing. Now, I'm saying all this to simply say that people need to take time out of their day whenever they see a news article, see some event that happened in the world, and not instantly go, that is a fact. They did take 5 to 10 minutes, and if they have an hour, take half that hour, take 20 minutes, take 30 minutes to research that topic, rather than making a conclusion based off of altered truth that was made for the sake of money and personal agenda. If people did that, then we would probably be in a better place. But I don't blame it entirely on just people, as more of I blame it on just that historical mindset of we can follow the masses. We follow what the masses say. That's just life. That's just what a lot of people do. They follow what the masses say, and that's much easier for a lot of people to do. It's not a matter of them blatantly going, I don't want to do the research. It's a matter of them just accepting that truth, which really isn't true. Another example is with Trump. Now, in my opinion, I feel like Trump, he isn't a bad president. He really isn't a bad president. But he has very questionable social character. Very, very questionable social character, in my opinion. And whenever those allegations came out against Trump, news and media outlets were hot to cover it. They were quick and swift. They covered it with grace, if that's what you want to call it. But did you guys know about Joe Biden and the sexual allegations brought up against him? Do you guys know about all the lovely clips of him caressing women and children? Did you guys know about the allegations which date back 27 years ago? Oh, no? Makes sense. Because the media just doesn't cover it like they would Trump. Joe Biden, he seems like he could be an okay president, just a very okay president. that history flies over if he was going to become president. But his social character is very, very questionable. But media will not cover it. I'm just saying, they have priorities, they have a political agenda, and they understand what's going to make them more money. And then we have people on social media who have opinions, who want to be accepted by everyone. So they say what people like to hear. And then it blows up. And then it becomes a popular opinion, therefore making it a right opinion. Now keep in mind, just because something's popular doesn't make it right. But that's the world that we live in. That's why we have a reason to do research and really look into a topic and not instantly accept it. Because people will put out so many variations of one event and it will be completely false. And we can't let political agendas based off of money, popular opinion, manipulate what is fact. We as individuals have to do research to get actual facts. And that's all I'm trying to say today. Is don't let yourself be manipulated by popular opinion. Don't let yourself be manipulated by news outlets which are trying to sway you in their own direction. Take time to research stuff. But that's it. It was a longer episode in comparison to my first one, but I'll probably keep them around this length, about 20 minutes or so. But wherever you are, hopefully you do have a good day. Hopefully I didn't bother you too much, and if I did, then I'm sorry. Not really, but I'm sorry. And hopefully you'll start doing research on topics, because that's very important. It's very important to do. And hopefully along with that, you'll be here for the third episode, which I will upload next Friday. Or, well, record and upload next Friday. But you get the point. If you're watching on YouTube, in the description, you can find links to my Instagram, Patreon, Spotify, yeah. So make sure to check those out. And have a lovely day. Goodbye.